Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Antoine from Nuage Networks, and I'm a Cappuccino core developer for kind of a bit of time now, since 2010. I'm the guy who wrote Archipel, if some of you know it. It's a kind of orchestration for virtual machines, and the UI is written with Cappuccino. And I'm a UI UX Jedi at Nuage Networks since 2012. So in this talk, I'm going to show you what we are doing at Nuage Networks and how we do it. And I will show you a little bit of how to build applications without the framework that we've developed internally. So Nuage Networks is a spin-off of Alcatel-Lucent, and now it's Nokia since a few months. And we are working as a small startup in a giant company. So we have a lot of freedom, and in the meantime, a lot of, all the power of a big corporation. And Nuage Networks is providing an SDN solution, which is basically virtualization for networks. So if you have a big data center, go to our website. It's pretty cool. It's going to help you. It's a growing company. We are, when I started, we were like 2 or 3, and now we are 200. It's big growth. And we have some great customers using the application I'm going to show you, like banking, telcos, and service provider. So yeah, it's going well. And this solution is basically, it's to deploy networks around the data center and program the routers and switches and expose all of that on the top of a REST API. So you can actually pilot all of your network using our API. And on top of that, of course, we have a Cappuccino application that uses those REST API to provide a user-friendly way to deal with the network. So our UI is called Architect, and it's the user interface to manage VSP, which is our big services that provides the REST API. And it's kind of a huge Cappuccino application. We have like that number of files, 175 zips, and we are about 1.5 million lines of code. So this is a really huge Cappuccino application. And everything is modular. So we've made, because managing that number of lines of code, we are basically, you can see at the end, we are 3 people working on that. So we've made everything modular, and we are using a lot of different frameworks. So on the top of Cappuccino, we have built framework to draw graphs and charts, and all the communication layer is in different framework and stuff. So we are just building different blocks, and at the top we have the UI. And I'm going to show you quickly the demo of that. So of course I don't have the entire setup, so that won't do anything in the backend, but you will see the UI. And I don't want to spend too much time showing what we did, but how we did it. And so after that, we'll go into that thing. So this is our login screen. And if I log in here, we have this application. So as you can see, we have a flat theme, which is a little bit more modern than the one, the Aristo one provided by Cappuccino. And so it's a huge application. So I'm just going to show you the Cappuccino cool thingy that we have in that application. So we have this kind of tree view here, where you can, it's working like a table view. You have a lot of delegates, and using a standard API to draw tree views and be able to interact with it. As you can see here, this is where we create our networks. So we have a domain here, and it shows that we have 3 different zones and subnets, and you can actually create new zones by drag and dropping from the library here into here. We'll just create a new zone. Or subnet. Some questions. And this is how you build your network. There is a lot and tons of options that actually I don't even know half of it, what it's actually doing on the network part. But yeah. And so that's the way you build your network. So for instance, if this tree view is displayed using our Graph Cappuccino internal library, and it has some pretty cool features. So for instance, if I want to add 7 subnets, I can do that. And it should create, the server is a little bit slow on my machine, but that's fine. And the thing is that you can end up with pretty large tree view that way. So I need more actually, give me a second. Yeah, almost there. Okay, so this is kind of hard to navigate, but if you look at that, when you, still not, and we add like 4 more. Okay, so when you navigate here, you can see that this part here doesn't move, so you have this kind of hierarchy that follows the list of and the hierarchy, so you can always see exactly where you are. So that's pretty cool. And it's kind of optimized. We did some tests with thousands of objects in that, and we only render what's needed here. So there is a lot of optimization here, which is pretty nice. So this is how you build a network. And the other thing that I wanted to show you is how so you can see that as some kind of, for the low-level networking people that want to deal with subnets and zones and stuff that are not really exciting. Here we have an application tab where you can actually create more high-level applications. So for instance, if I want to create a website, just put here, I will select in what network I want to deploy that application. And if I click here, then still using Graph Cappuccino, we can actually drag and drop objects. So this one would be my front end. Okay, this one would be my business logic. And this one is actually a graph, not a tree view. So if I drop, again, let's say the internet, I can connect my application by simply drawing lines between the different boxes and select what kind of service I want to allow between those tiers. So HTTP is pretty fine. And that way here, MySQL, I don't know. So then you have that, and it can move. So you can move different parts. You have a selection box. So that's what Alex told. All that cool stuff that you have basically for free in Cappuccino. We can leverage this and just focus on what we want to do and just not the basic stuff of user experience. And we have this zooming feature, which is actually conserving all the coordinates of the object. So you can do kind of really complex things like that. You can rearrange, and that's stupid. That's a bug. I'm gonna fix that. And you can rearrange the arrows for this one, for instance, to be here or another kind of boxes. So that's basically VSD. We also have some cool stuff with maps, and we have a framework to interact with OpenStreetMap. Cannot show you right now because it's hidden in some pull requests that I don't have access right now. But trust me, it's pretty cool because actually we are using OpenStreetMap just to display the maps, and then all the markers and layers and little stuff you want to put on the map is actually Cappuccino views instead of using on the, I don't know if you try MapKit, the old one with Google Map. It was like, there was a barrier between the Cappuccino world and the JavaScript world, and our framework is actually destroying that barrier, and you can put the view whatever you want, and we follow the map and stuff. But that you'll have to trust me on this one. So, so I don't want to go everywhere on the application. Just want so you have a kind of feeling of what it looks like, even if it's not that great on that screen. And I want to talk to you about how we are doing that. So just give me 1 second because I need to stop that humongous virtual machine and start another one. Okay. So that was Architect for the UI of VSD. And now we're going to diverge a bit from the Cappuccino world and go into our process to communicate with our backend. So the API of Nuage is pretty big. We have more than 140 different objects, which is kind of big API. And we need to be in sync between the front end, the back end, the QA, and everybody. So we are working, and we introduced a tool that allows us, from a set of specifications, will be some JSON files, to generate different code base. So from monolith, you can generate, according to the specification, the entire VSD APA or to-do list APA or whatever APA you wanna have, and those files are actually on GitHub. So if you look at that, this is an example where I'm describing basically a to-do list application. And as you can see here, if I take a list, it contains a bunch of JSON that will describe the entire APA. So you have the attributes, what's the format, if it's filterable, if it's exposed, description, deprecated, and whatever you can imagine. And out of that, we can create some code using the monolith tool, which is a Python library. Monolith can generate SDK, and I'll come to that later, in different language, like HTML for documentation. We have Java, Objective-J, of course, Go, and Python. And you can add more plugins if you want to generate code out of the specification using monolith. So let me follow my stuff here. Okay, so I'm going to right now create some specification, some SDK out of the specification I just showed you here. So to do so, I just need to run one command. I guess it's in my stuff. Okay, so by doing that here, I can generate some framework according to a GitHub repository on organization, on branch, and a language. So if I want to do one for Objective-J, I simply put the language here to be Objective-J, and it's going to GitHub, get the specifications, and generate some code out of it. That's done. If we look at the folder, we can see that I have an Objective-J folder here, and it just created some files out of my specifications. So if I look at the task, we can see that it generated some model for that particular object, and I have all the model generated like that. So that's pretty cool because when you get a specification, you get your model in Cappuccino already done in no time. So that's from Monolith. That is already open source, and it's available on Nuage Networks, on the GitHub of Nuage Networks. And that's what we are using internally to deal with the specification and everything according to what we want to do. But the thing is that this is JSON, and it's kind of hard to edit manually. So we've built another application, Cappuccino application. I just did that, which is a specification director. So this is basically a UI and client-server application that will provide a cool user interface to deal with those specifications and integrate very well with the GitHub workflow. So I'm going to start it right now. I want to show you that. So I'm just starting some Docker container that, I need a Redis, a Mongo, the backend, and the front end. So that's the specification director. And it looks like a lot like our architect UI. I'll show you why after that. So the way it works is that you can add repositories and get them from GitHub and edit them right from this UI. So the first thing I need to do is to first create my credential. So I need the GitHub token thing that I have here, and I unvalidated that after. Okay. And then I can add my specification here. So the way you usually do when you want to change the specifications, you go on GitHub, you create a branch. I'm going to create a new branch called demo. And where is my thing here? And here you have the repository. So you can put a name and the organization, that's Nuage networks. The repository is monostack example. And the branch is demo. The root path is specification. This is just to tell the system where is my specification in the repository. And I can associate my GitHub token here. If I didn't do any typo, I should be able to get the specification out of GitHub. So we'll pull all the files normally. Yeah. And you can see that on the UI, I got my four stuff, the list, the root API, the task, and the user. So that's very simple. And if you select, for instance, a list, then you have basic information on the model, and you can set the attributes and the children APIs. So this is how you build your specification and your model. So for instance, if I want to create a new stuff, like a location, I can create a new specification, and it will fill up some basic information that can override if you need to. So I get a new location object here, and then I want to add some attributes, something simple like a name, and you put some description for the documentation, the name, which is very helpful. When you select the name, you have this editor on the right side when you can actually set the type and default values, minimum length, maximum length, and all that kind of things. I want it to be actually required. And I can add the second one, which will be the address. The same very useful description here. So I have declared my new object in the UI, and I want to plug that into the existing model. So if I want, for instance, to put that under a list, I can add as a children API the location object that I've just created. Okay. And if you look here, there is a little dot that just vanished, meaning that every action that you are doing on a specification director will actually commit something on GitHub. So if I come back here, or I can actually use that button here, it will bring me right to the place I want to be. You can see that on my demo branch, I've added a few more commits by the specification director, meaning that I've added a specification for location, added the name, I updated the name, added the address, and I added shell IPA to the list spec. So that way you can build, without touching anything in GitHub, your specification changes, then you can open a pull request and you know all the GitHub workflow. You can have some reviews and fights about the REST API that way. It's a little bit more easier than using some document. So this specification director is something that we use internally. And if you actually look at the look and feel of this UI, it's looking a lot like the architect UI. And that's because we are, just did that also, we are using what we call the NU kit, which is an application framework working on the top of Cappuccino that abstracts a lot of things regarding some specific concept of REST API that we have. And I'll come to that later. So it provides a set of classes and tools and a lot of controls that will help you build application based on those specifications if you have a backend that works that way. In mostly no time. So everything is abstract by that layer, and with a very little code, you will be able to get a full-featured application. So that's what we use for the architects, and that's what we use for the specification director. It's based on modules. The core class of that thing is the NU module, which is basically a view controller that will be able to get information from the REST server and do all the CRUD operations for you without anything basically to write. But if you look at the first UI architect, it's talking to a Java backend, and this Java backend is implementing our API concept. So if you come back to the specification director, we needed to have some kind of server that is able to talk our API concept. And we could have done something very specific to that application, but we went another way because we had already a lot of tools that can generate a lot of things. So we worked on what we call Garuda, which is a Python backend. And this guy is pretty cool because with mostly no code, when you get the specification, you generate an SDK out of it, you load that into Garuda, and you get all the CRUD operation, the push notification, the permission, the storage, the Docker-friendly scaling, and everything you can imagine for free without a single line of code. And then when you have that, you can just write some very little plugins to do the pure business logic that you need to do that we cannot know in advance. So we use that, and for the specification director, we have some specifications written with the specification director about itself. We generate an SDK, we load that into Garuda, and we get a new version of the specification director. So this is working pretty well, and I'm going to show you right now how to build an application with everything I showed you in no time, and that should work. I'm kind of tired, so forgive me if I miss some commands. Oops, sorry, that's for after. So here, what I need to do is, that's my to-do list application, so you can see that I have a client and a server. I just want to show you the server because it's kind of interesting. This is the server code, which is a very, very big Python piece of code. I just basically passed some arguments about the SDK I want to use, some information about Mongo and Redis and whatever. I create some plugins, sorry. Basically just giving those information. I pass all those information to Garuda, and I start it. And that's it. I will have all the CRUD operation that is described in the REST API and the hierarchy and everything. So that's the server. And in the client, it's using a new kit, and we'll go a bit through that. But also, we have kind of very few objects. I'm going to show you the code that you need to write to manage all the CRUD operation and push and pagination and filtering and etc. for the list. So that's the code. That's all you need to have when you inherit from a new module in that class. That's all you need to write. This is basically just glue code and configuration of different objects. So it's very fast. And of course, you can extend that to do some very more complex things. But by default, it will do a normal application. So let me get my stuff here. OK. So what I need to do here is to, in the specification director, I've added this location new API, and I want to build a server around it. So let me just fetch the change that I just did on the demo. Okay. So if you look, git pull maybe. Okay. So if you look in the specification folder here, I have this new location specification that's here. So what I need to do is to generate with Monogen, this time using a folder instead of a GitHub, will be faster. On the specification directory, I want to generate the Python SDK, which is by default, so I don't need to add anything more. And here, I've just created my code for Python. And if we look a bit in that here, I have my TDL DK for to-do list DK, and it contains the classes for everything that I had and the new location. So the code has been generated here. And what I need to do now is to create a Python egg out of that. So that's a long command, but basically, of course.
You missed the thing.
Yeah, of course I missed the thing. I always miss the thing. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just doing to the folder of the generated source code. I'm building the egg. I'm coming back, and I'm copying the archive where my Docker file, because it's from Docker, expects it to be. And that's it. So here, now, if I look at the server folder, I have this TDL DK thing that's ready to go. And then I can actually build my Docker container. Oh, I don't have another command that will do everything for you. For me, actually. OK. So I'm just building a Docker container named TDL server. And I'm starting it up with Docker Compose. I don't know if you are familiar with Docker, and if you are not, you should check it out because it's awesome. But basically, this Docker Compose file will simply glue different services like the Mongo, the Redis, my backend, my frontend together, doing some internal thing. So I can start like multiple machines in a container, and it's very easy to do because just doing that, I have started a Redis, a Mongo, and a backend. So right now, I have my service is actually running. So I do a Docker Compose PS. I have my backend, my Mongo, and my Redis. For this one, I won't be creating a container for the UI. I will simply open it in a debug mode. So if I open my now the client, so again, that looks very familiar now. And when I'm connecting here, I have this application that's right now completely empty. And I can create my list. And I can create tasks. Normally, I should have a default value, but I forgot to put one in the specification. So by default, I need to do it. And so as you can see, I have this push and stuff that's coming for free. And you'll see with the code that I show you is actually the only thing that you need to do. We have some advanced filtering things, so I can actually do textual search, or I can use this predicate rule editor to filter the task that contains the name TA. And we see that we have one. Just generate the standard Cappuccino predicate stuff. If it doesn't match anything, then it doesn't match anything. We can create users here, so we have this kind of toolbar thingy when you can put general module. Just one word about, this is the worst user experience you can make for a to-do list, right? This is just for an example to use the standards feature of the NU kit. Don't do that for a to-do list, right? So I can add a user. I wish. And then I can actually associate this user to a specific task. So that's the code that's already done for the to-do list thing. And as you can see here right now, there is nothing to control the location object that I've created. So we are going to do it right now in live. And so you'll see a bit of Cappuccino. It's time to start. So to do so, the first thing I need to do is actually generate my model to take care of the new location object in the model. So let me just flush it out. Yep. So as you can see right now in the code, if I look at my model directory, I have nothing. So let me use monolith to generate the specification in Objective-J right now, and put that at the correct place. Okay, so now you can see that here I have my library, which is here, and it contains a Jake file and stuff because you can actually, it's a framework, so right now I'm using it that way, but you can create a framework and install it as standard Cappuccino library. And I have my location stuff that's here, so that's good. And now I need to create a few stuff to be able to display that. So I will need one NU module, so our core stuff in the NU kit, to be able to display the location and provide the popover and everything you need to edit them. So the good thing is that with the NU kit, it provides a lot of templates for you for a lot of different kind of views you can use in the NU kit for a module that is actually in the middle of hierarchy, a leaf module, an editor, a configuration panel. There is a lot of templates. So I'm just using those guys here, and I will add a new, from my template, a standard module as a SK location module. Where I am? Oh. All right. And I want to also use a zip file, which is a standard leaf module, because there is nothing behind the location. There is no children API to that. And finally, I need to have a data view to be able to display my location object in the list. So I'm using that too. And now I should do some import stuff, but I have a tool that will do that for me. That will generate the import file and add my new files in the correct general import files. Okay, so now if you look at that in the code, you can see that I have a new data view here, the location data view. The data view.j has been edited to add the new import here. We have a new resource, the location.zib, and a location module that we'll need to work on to make it work with the location. So this is still a work in progress, but as you can see, right now I'm doing some CP and manual editing, but we will be able very soon to simply be able to start a command line to generate all that code for you with the correct names and everything ready. So that will come pretty soon. And so let's start with the data view. So the first thing I need to do is to update that code to make it an SK location data view. So I have a name in my model. I don't have any description. I have an address. So let's change that by field address. I need to bind it not to description but to the actual address property. I don't really need this transformer here because it's not a description. Okay. And the rest is just standard encoding and decoding of the view. So that's for the view, the code of the view. Now I need to create a new view in Xcode for that. So let's start Xcode here. And this is a new bug here that's pissing me off. Okay, so here, this is where all the data view are put. So in the NU kit, you create all your data view in one or multiple zip, but you let the NU kit load them and do some introspection. So when you create a new data view, it will be available through the entire system in some sort of registry, so you can access them wherever you are in the UI. Because sometimes you want to show the location on the location modules, but you have some association stuff where you still need to display that data view in a particular view, so it's accessible from anywhere in the application. So I will be lazy and I will copy this one. I need to say that this guy now is an SK location data view. So Xcode Cap did the job to convert everything, so it's available right into Xcode. This is the name. This is the address. And I need just to bind my data view outlets to the correct one, so the new field address. I don't know if it's very clear here. But basically I have my field address, and I will simply drag and drop it. All right, to the address stuff here. And now I need to register this data view into my, what we call the data view loader. And that's fairly easy. Here I have this data view loader that already contains 3 data views, one for the list, one for the task, and one for the users. So simply add a new one. This guy is an SK location data view, and I put a name, location data view. All right, back to Xcode. I just need to register that as my location data view, and I'm ready to go. So all the data view thing is done, and what I need to do now is to work on the module that will display all the locations on the application. And that's very easy to do. I'm going here. This is my standard template module. So there is no submodule on this one, so I can remove that code, and I'll show you that after. The name here will be SK locations module. The module name, this is where we need to display in some tabs and stuff for just human-friendly label locations. Module icon in some sort of way, depends on when you display and where you display our modules, you might need to have an icon or not. On this case, I don't need to. And in the view did load of the new module, you can see that I can register a data view with name. So as I said previously, by just doing that, this guy will use our data view registry and will be able to get it by introspection to know this guy is the location data view. No need to do any additional code. For the class, we want to display SK locations. For the SK location, I still don't have any submodules, so I don't need that. And finally, in the context, so the context, the module itself is responsible for displaying the information. The context is responsible for editing, creating, or deleting a particular object in the list. So a module can have multiple contexts, but this one only have one. We are dealing with locations. So you can initialize a module context here. Put the name, location. For the rest name, so this is just the semantic name of the location, which is normally described in the specifications. You give it a popover, and you tell how to actually access the locations from the parent of that object. So from the current list that I've selected on the parent module, how I want to get the locations. And we use some fetcher stuff, and this one is called children locations. And I finally register my context for the SK location object. Okay? Now I need to do the same. I need to work a bit on the zip file. So I have this new location stuff that, if you remember, I've copied from my template in NuKit. I can just put the name here, so I'm showing locations. I already have the tables and everything ready for using that into the NuKit. And the only thing I need to change here is the popover. So this is the popover view. I can put a title here, but it will be anyway generated locations. And here I have the name and description to enter the value and the actual value of the property. So this one is just a label. I'll call it address. And here, this text field, so I don't need to do any outlet binding or stuff like that. The only thing I need to know, and the context will do the work for you, is to declare a tag here that the value is the actual property name of the model. So for this one will be address. If it's a name, you can see that here I have the name. And the context will automatically look at everything, depends on how you configure it, but we'll check all the available fields and we'll do the binding for you. So you'll get, you can bind text field, combo box, checkbox, table views, and a lot of things like that. And by just putting the tag with the correct property name, we'll get correctly bound. And this little red guy here is the validation field. So when I create a location or edit a location or whatever, if there is any issue with the server, it will send some validation code using some standard stuff. And if there is an issue regarding that particular property, like it's too long, it's not set or whatever, the message will be shown here automatically. Again, by just calling the tag, just setting the tag of this guy to be validation underscore the name of the property. Okay. And the last thing I need to do is to actually say this guy is an SK locations module. Okay? And the very last thing I need to do is to plug that, everything new view that I've created, to plug that into the current UI hierarchy. And again, that's kind of very simple. I just select where I want to put that. So location is a child of list. So I'm going to the list module. And I'm adding a new outlet here for an SK location module. Call that location module. And I just set this property here to register it as a submodule of the current module. Again, the code side, we are done. Last thing we need to do is to actually plug the outlet. This is kind of annoying. This is new, actually. All right. And if I go to the list, then I can simply drop a standard view controller. All right. Say that this guy is an SK locations module. The zip file will be locations. And I just plug the outlet here, location module. And hopefully I'm done. So if I didn't forget anything, when I reload the UI here, When I select my existing list, you can see that I have my location tab that has been created here, and it's ready to go. So I can create a new location, and it's in Liège. And I have everything for free, so the CRUD operation, the push, the filtering, I can filter them here. And you saw like 10 lines of code. So that's how we build the applications here. Still have a bit of time? Or? Yeah. I want to show you the pagination also, which is pretty cool. So you know the SDK that we've generated with Monolith? So it generates some, the Python SDK that we load into the backend. But it's also a client library. So the same SDK can be used by the backend or by the clients. Meaning that if I want to, I can install it here. No, server. So this is the same SDK, if you remember, that I've loaded into the backend. I can pip install it on my local machine. And then it's available for creating scripts or application in Python or Go or whatever you want to generate. And it also provides a command line. So right now the command line is configured to be TDL. And by just doing that, I can see that I can manage TDL for list, location, and tasks. I can do TDL list, which is an unfortunate name. And you see that I have my name here, my list. So you can work that way and create more and things like that. So that's the command line. And the last thing is you can, of course, write scripts. So if you look, I have a small one. I have a small one here, which is a small Python script. Simply, we'll start a session. We'll connect to my backend. We'll get the first. Oh, it's the old version. Ah. There we go. So yeah. So this one is getting the first list that I have available on my list of lists, and we'll create 200 different locations in that list. So I can simply run that, doing tools, create locations. Okay. And there we go. And here I have my 200 locations that just magically popped up here. Thanks. And if I select that guy back here, so as I was looking at that view, the push came and you saw that everything was here. And right now I just reloaded, and I only have pages that are configured to be 50 objects. And if you carefully look on the right side, well, you won't see it, but yeah. No, you don't see it. But actually, when I reach the bottom of the page, it will load the new one. And you can even see it, which is pretty good, actually, that you can see it. And I'm loading 50 by 50 that way. So everything is coming for free, and that's the NU kit and Garuda and all our stack. So that's the NU kit features, because right now I just scratch the tip of what we can do with that thing. And we have a lot of things like pagination, model binding, flat tem, it's modular, create the CRUD operation. We provide some control to enter an IP address, because we are a networking company, so we needed that. We can do IPv6 and a lot of things like that. The permission system is also in place, so people can simply, right now I was logged as me in the architect or the to-do list application. If I log as another guy, I won't see anything from that guy. So everything is depending on the permission plugin you put. We have some tools. We have a simplified JEC file where it's just a declarative stuff. You just give some basic information about your application, and we have some script that will use JEC under the hood to make that way easier. We have associators, so you can create some kind of one-to-one relationship, one-to-many relationship, both on the back end and the front end. So yeah, there is a lot of things you can do with NUKit and Garuda. And the good thing is that we did all of that. Basically, this is our work for 4 years in Nuage. And today I'm really happy to announce that everything is now available on GitHub. So you can find NUKit, Garuda, the flat tem with NUKit, monoliths already on GitHub. We have the Docker images for the basic stuff for Garuda and the specification director. Yeah, the specification director too is open source. So there is a lot of things that you can actually go and check right now. This example that I did here is available also open source on GitHub with a little bit more stuff because I don't have a lot of time right now. So you have a more advanced tutorial that will do a little bit more than just what I did with the to-do list. And yeah, and that's it. So, thank you. So I'm very excited and I'm very, I look forward to seeing what you're going to do with all that stuff. So if you have any questions, that's the time. Yeah.
Does it work with Postgres or with relational databases, or is it only Mongo?
It can work with whatever you want. Garuda is based on a lot of plugins, and right now we provide for free a Mongo storage plugin. You can write your own for SQL and stuff. Mongo is cool because you don't have any schema adherence. When you update the specification, it's pretty cool to just reload and it works. But yeah, you can write plugins for whatever backend you want, for whatever permission enforcement system that you want. Even the communication channel, right now we provide a REST channel at the top, but you can build your own if you want to do pure TCP, XMPP. You just need to write a plugin. Any other question?
Have you benchmarked the server-side backend?
Yeah. So the backend right now, one node is actually able to serve like around 1,000 requests per second, which is not that bad for a little Python application. We are working also to provide a later version written in Go, and that will be way, way, way faster than the Python stuff. But as I said, it's very scalable. So one node is 1,000 requests per second. You just have to start another Docker container and give the actual address of the Redis, and you have two guys that will work in cluster without any further configuration. Anything else?
Yeah, what kind of the range of improvement to expect writing this in Go from the Python?
I don't know. I mean, if you look at the benchmarks in Go, on my machine, a simple web server in Go can do 50,000 requests per second, and Flask is doing like 1,000 or 2,000, 20. Yeah.
You can compile it inside and also.
Yeah, try that, but I had some issue with that. Work at that. Okay? Yeah.
A bit less about yourself. You said at the beginning that you have a team of 3 doing the PSP, as you call it, the monitoring portal.
Yeah.
Does that include this whole project on site, the whole?
All of that?
All of that?
Yeah.
So you've got 3 guys.
2 actually right now. And do this on the side? Yeah. Yeah, so that's why actually all that kind of stuff, the time we save doing Cappuccino thing and using Xcode, we can actually spending doing so cool stuff like that instead to reinvent the wheel, as Alex said, over and over to get a drag and drop. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That each of you wrote adds 1.5 million lines by 3.
That depends, actually. I need to do a git blame to see.
Count the job of Cappuccino itself, I guess.
No, I don't count Cappuccino. Yeah. Yeah.
There was 1.5 billion lines of code over under 9,000 files.
Billion? We have a million line.
Yeah, 1.5 million lines of code.
Yeah.
In under 1,000 files, under 9,000 files.
Yeah.
So that's a big file.
Yeah, they are big files. Yep. We are, well, on the count here, we are not talking about the actual UI, we are also talking about the framework. So Graph Cappuccino is a pretty huge one because there is a lot of math there. So that's basically those guys who are big, not what you're writing with the NuKit and things like that.
It's easy, just write 500,000 lines of code and you have an app.
Yep. But that's the good thing. We wrote it for you, so just do your stuff and write 3 lines of code, and you will be happy.
A very trivial question. What was that editor you used?
Item.
That was Atom.
Yeah. Atom's very good. Okay. Well, thank you.